Hey, how's it going? I thought it'd be a good time to do an in the bag video because I got my first tournament coming up here in just over a week. I've also been playing 6 months, so I think I've kind of found like what I like to throw, at least good enough for now. I'll see how it changes in the next like year or so. But I just got a new bag. It's called the Combat Sniper by Dynamic Discs. I like it a lot so far. I'll start off with the non-disc stuff. Most important thing, I always have this sun hat. I mean, you have to be radially balanced when you're playing a circle-based sport, so these are superior to baseball hats in every way. Better sun protection, 360 degrees of balance. You can't really argue with it, it's just better. So I always have that. Got my water bottle. I got a disc retriever. And I got one of those grip bags on this side. I haven't really played in the summer too much yet, but I know I'll need it when it gets hot. I'll start off slow with putters and I'll move up. I'll probably cut in shots of me throwing them just so you can see how they fly. But right now I have 2 putting putters, they're the same. And I have 2 of most of the discs I throw, not because they fly different necessarily, but more just because I want to retry my throws if I screw up. These are Warhammers by local company Black Zombie. I just like how they feel. The plastic's really nice. It's gateway plastic. They're kind of gummy and they'll just like kind of stick where you throw them, so that's a good thing in putters. They're pretty straight, just basically point and shoot putters. And next I have 3 pilots, probably my favorite disc overall. The pilots are all super straight. This one's a little flippier, the Eclipse one. The Neutron and the Photon ones, they're basically the exact same, but I'll use these for drives or upshots. If I can throw a pilot, if it's in like 250 or closer, 250 feet or closer, I'll probably be throwing a pilot. And then next, I got a zone. I think everyone needs a zone, basically. Forehand approaches or backhand, like overstable, pretty close shots. Zone is basically the best disc I've found just because it feels great to forehand. Next up, I got my understable mid-ranges. 2 Mako 3s. I use these for turnover shots when I can't get there with a pilot. This pilot flies about the same as either of these Makos, just probably 50. I can probably get these out. I'll probably throw these up to 350. If I need a left or right shot and I don't want to throw a forehand because my forehand is still pretty weak, hopefully that changes pretty soon. I should practice it more. But I use those for my left or right, just like long turnover shots. Next up, I got my basically go-to mid-range. It's a Reactor. I have 2 of these. One is glow. It's in this bag. Might as well show that off now. Reactor though is straight to overstable finish. I can just throw it flat. It'll go straight the whole way and then finish left at the end. So if I'm inside 350 and it's a straight shot with like no real obstruction, I'll probably throw the Reactor. Speaking of my other Reactor, it's a glow Reactor. I got this sick bag my friend made me. Shout outs to Chris. Just a lunchbox, but it's lined with UV light. I don't know, see if the sun will block it out, but you can see that. It'll just charge up your disc really fast. Use it for glow rounds. It's pretty sick. Really nice. Next up, in the overstable mid-range slot, I have a runway. I actually lost my other overstable mid-range I was trying out, which was the Pyro, and it flew the exact same as this. I couldn't really tell a difference. This one is a little deeper, so it feels a little, I think, worse to forehand, better to backhand. That's my preference for like this rim depth. I prefer shallower ones for forehand, but it is flat, so it feels good for forehand in that regard. I'll use that for, it's like a zone. It's a little more overstable than my zone, but I'll use it for just hyzer shots. I can't quite throw it as far as my Reactor and my Mako, so probably like 320 and in. Next up, I got a drift. If you know about Leopard 3s, these are the exact same flight numbers, and Allie, my girlfriend, has some of those, and I think it flies basically the exact same. I like it because it's streamlined, and I like a lot of Streamline's other stuff, so I have this one. I'll use this for turnover shots that I can't reach with my Makos. This can get out really far though. The drift, you put it on a hyzer and let it flip over. Like, I've thrown this over 400 before. Next up is a couple fairways. One's the Alpha by Mintus, which is a local company. This is pretty straight for me. I think it's, the numbers say it's kind of overstable. I don't remember the exact numbers, but for me it's pretty straight with a slight finish. It's kind of like the Reactor for me of fairway drivers. You can see it's kind of domey. And I'll use that for straight shots with more distance than Reactor can reach. Then the Volt, it looks like pretty similar shape to the Alpha. It's just a little more overstable for me. So I'll use this for overstable finish shots that I don't really want to go crazy left at the end. I don't really forehand this or the Alpha because they're both domey, and I don't like that for forehands. Maybe I should try it, but I'll probably just throw a turnover instead. Next up is Valkyrie. I got this in my starter pack from my dad. I still use it, but this is my roller disc. For me, it just works out perfectly. It'll get down on a nice angle and hold it for quite a while, and then finish right. This is my farthest, I guess my record disc because of a roller. I don't know if that really counts, but I've thrown this 620 feet. I got lucky, I haven't done it again, but if I'm throwing a roller, it's going to be with the Valkyrie. Probably my, I don't know, it's hard to say like second favorite disc, but I really like flares. They're so cool. Overstable Fairways, like insanely overstable fairways, stupidly overstable. But I'll use these for all kinds of stuff. I use them for backhands, I'll use them for forehands, even thumbers. But I'll use these a lot for skip shots when I have to get around a corner. Doesn't matter forehand or backhand, but if I have to get around a corner fast and I still want to get like some skip and distance, I'll use a flare. And being in Texas, like none of the trees are that tall, so you can go over the top a lot. And so flare is also a great thumber disc. They're both really flat, really overstable, and they work out well. Next up, I only have one of these, but it kind of tells you about how I play right now. This is my Forehand Driver. It's a Tesla. It's pretty straight overall. It's like a, I can't remember the numbers on it, but it's kind of like a Wraith. I think it's a little slower, but it's stable enough to not flip over on me and straight enough to not just hyzer out. So I can get pretty good distance on my forehands with this, and it seems controllable. It's super flat top, feels great for that. Next up, I have two traces. These are probably my overall go-to driver. They're the most controllable distance for me. One's a plasma trace, one's a, what is this, proton trace. This one's more overstable, partially because of the plastic and partially because this orange one has been run over by a car. And so I'll use this for like turnover shots or hyzer flips in the like a woods tunnel. And this one is basically the same, just slightly more overstable. So it'll flip up and then carry a long ways and finish left still. So I like those for controlled distance. Next I got two Forces. These are my overstable distance drivers. When I need some distance or have a headwind shot, I'll throw one of the Forces. They can hold up in the wind pretty well. So that's the main reason I use them. If there's a headwind shot, my traces will probably flip over and these won't. These I'll also use for like left finish or like big long hyzers. Don't really forehand those either. Next I got kind of a wild card disc. It's a Shrike. I got one of these. I've lost like 4 or 5 discs total, and I think all but one has been a Shrike. And it's because I use these for crazy turnover shots for max distance. This is probably my farthest distance air flying disc, and I'll use them for just like really long left to right turning holes. There's a couple holes around here I use this disc for every time, and don't really use it much else besides those. It's really glidey and it gets crazy distance. And then my top speed discs are these 2 teleports. And these are kind of similar to the traces. I think they're a tiny bit more overstable. They're both kind of domey. I've noticed teleports are pretty inconsistent when checking for them at the store. Some are pretty flat. These are domey ones. And if I want max distance and I don't need to like hyzer flip through a tunnel or really worry about obstacles, I'll probably use a teleport because they're still stable enough to hold up and finish left for me. But they go really far. And I also have this practice basket, which has been helping my putting. I've changed my stance quite a few times, but right now I go, I don't know if you can see, I'll go like basically foot almost exactly at the basket, tiny offset. And then I've noticed that if I have my finger tucked under the rim like that instead of on it, it seems more consistent. And I try to push out with my palm, like that's the release. Before I was like trying to like really flick it with my grip, but now I'm like kind of trying to like push it out. I think that makes it more consistent too. But yeah, we'll see how my setup evolves, and hopefully I do well enough in my next tournament to not get discouraged. I don't really care though. I kind of like getting destroyed because that means the skill gap is there and that there's a lot more for me to learn, and I like that. But see you later.